The Incredible Hulk tells the story of scientist Bruce Banner, who after a gamma radiation experiment has the ability to become a huge green monster known as the Hulk whenever he gets angry. After some opening credits that show this, Bruce is on the run from the government who wants to weaponize the radiation inside his body. At the same time, he is trying to reconnect with his old girlfriend Betty Ross and find a cure for his condition. Writing my notes for Iron Man, I felt as if I had to emphasize that this would be the next review in my MCU series. That's because, from what I hear online, it's the movie in the franchise that gets forgotten the most. It makes sense to me, and I'll expand on that during my issues, but it's a pretty good movie. To me, Mark Ruffalo is always going to be the Hulk, but Edward Norton gives a solid performance as this character. The character himself is someone you can automatically root for. This purposefully quiet guy that gets bullied at certain points in the film, a guy with an impossibly solvable situation in his life, but is still determined to get the right answer. Some of my favorite moments of this film are these quiet scenes of Bruce's new everyday life with the Hulk inside of him. I appreciate that the origin story is told efficiently within the opening credits. You're shown exactly what you need to know visually without needing to have a whole chunk of runtime devoted to setting it up. Speaking of which, after those end credits and the actual story begins, I think I discovered something. At the start of the film, Bruce is hiding in Brazil, and his job there is at this bottling factory for a green-colored soda. Later, during one of the first action sequences, a container of said liquid explodes and it goes everywhere. I wonder if that's like a depressing metaphor for Bruce Banner, that no matter what he does to bottle up the Hulk, if you will, the Hulk is always going to find a way out. The filmmakers maybe intended that, or maybe they didn't. That's just something I found interesting. I like how the Hulk isn't shown in full form for a while during the first half. The opening credits are POV shots of Hulk that mainly catch his arms. Bruce has a heart monitor that beeps whenever he gets too excited. During the action sequence in the factory, you mainly see this huge shadowy figure. All this builds suspense and anticipation for the Hulk, instead of just having Bruce transform immediately. There are foot chases that are actually shot very well and are exciting. I've seen a lot of those types of sequences in film, and some are cut up to the point where you can't understand what's happening. But here, they're coherent. Moving on to the negative, I have some large problems with this film, and some things that I'm mixed on. Bruce's relationship with Betty Ross didn't quite land for me. I could tell that Edward Norton and Liv Tyler did have some chemistry, and you get glimpses of it on occasion, but that's really all you get. It's not sufficiently fleshed out. When it gets to the scene where Bruce is throwing himself out of the plane to go fight the Abomination and he's saying goodbye to her, it felt kind of hollow. The Hulk action scenes are entertaining enough, but were significantly hurt by the weak CGI. It's not so good when you're looking at the Hulk, but it manages to get worse later on when you're looking at Abomination. These scenes are watchable, but this really obvious CGI, more so than Iron Man, it just took me out of several moments. Speaking of the Abomination, his fight scene with Hulk feels forced. Not only is it derivative of the final fight in Iron Man, the hero having the same powers as the villain and then they go head to head, there's no full personal conflict between them. They just run into each other a couple of times earlier, and in one scene they have a brief physical interaction. Granted, after getting badly injured in that physical interaction by the Hulk, the guy that later becomes the Abomination actually has sort of a vendetta against Bruce, but the same isn't true with Bruce. The only person that Bruce is really against in the film is General Ross. General Ross is the only antagonist that's given true conflict with Bruce. Of course, some of it lies in wanting Bruce's DNA, but there's also the angle of him disapproving of Bruce's romance with his daughter Betty. The climax, I think, should have focused more on him, that he should have been the main villain of the film. But the writers kind of go the easy route on this one, and we just get some mindless action with the Abomination, which with the CGI that they have, isn't really all that great. Finally, the film as a whole is simply generic. The reason I understand why it can be the forgotten MCU film is because there's just not that much to write home about. Iron Man stands out for Robert Downey Jr.'s performance and quite a few iconic moments.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
The Incredible Hulk feels like just another comic book film. In the end, I would describe this film the way I describe the Hulk action in it. It was good enough. Not what it could have been, but I still got some level of entertainment from it. I'm going to give The Incredible Hulk a B-. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.